The fluorescent lights of the Omega surrogacy agency buzzed overhead like accusatory witnesses to my shame. I sat in that sterile waiting room, clutching a folder of forms that would sell away the last piece of myself I had left to bargain with. How did I get here? The answer was simple: 800 million won in debt from my dead father's gambling addiction. My mother's failing kidneys requiring a 50 million won transplant. My 15-year-old brother Eli's tear-streaked face when I told him he'd have to drop out of school. I was 26 and already drowning. Mr. Kieran? A woman in a crisp blazer appeared. Director Hayes will see you now. Director Hayes assessed me with the calculating gaze of someone appraising livestock. You understand our premium program isn't standard surrogacy, she said, sliding a document across her desk. The number made my breath catch. 200 million won. Our client pays substantially more, but his requirements are specific. You'll live with him for 1 year. Fulfill the role of spouse in every capacity. Her meaning was crystal clear. Natural conception only. My stomach twisted. Can I know who he is? His identity remains confidential until you sign. But I can tell you he's extremely powerful. Wealthy beyond measure. She paused. He's lost 3 wives to sudden illness. He believes traditional marriage is cursed, so he's trying a different approach. 3 dead wives. The words echoed like a death sentence. I need to think. Your mother's dialysis center called this morning, Director Hayes interrupted. They're discontinuing treatment if you can't pay the 8 million won you owe by week's end. Your brother's school sent final notice. And the loan sharks. She leaned forward. They don't wait forever, Kieran. She knew everything. Every desperate detail of my collapsing life. Where do I sign? 3 days later, a black Mercedes delivered me to another world. The mansion that appeared at the end of a private road wasn't a home. It was a monument to power. Glass, steel, and stone sprawled across manicured grounds like a sleeping dragon. My heart hammered as I was led through a foyer with floors like mirrors, past art worth more than my entire existence, until we stopped before double doors. Mr. Cross is waiting. The study was all dark wood and leather. Behind a massive desk sat the man who'd purchased me. Damien Cross was beautiful the way a blade is beautiful. All sharp angles and lethal edges. Jet black hair, a face carved from marble, and eyes like midnight that pinned me in place when they fixed on me. Leave us, he commanded. The silence stretched. He rose with predatory grace, circling me slowly. This close, his scent overwhelmed me, rain and cedar with something darker beneath. My Omega instincts stirred traitorously. You're prettier than your photos, he observed clinically. Director Hayes says you're desperate. Drowning in debt. Is that accurate? Shame burned through me. Yes. Good. Desperate means motivated. Motivated means you won't try to run. He completed his circle. Do you understand what you've agreed to? I'm here to give you a child. You're here to give me an heir, he corrected sharply. There's a difference. I want a son to inherit my empire. I want perfection. I can't guarantee. You'll try again and again if necessary. That's what I'm paying for. His eyes traveled down my body with insulting slowness. You'll live here. Eat what I tell you. Sleep when I tell you. And when I require you in my bed, you'll come without question. Is that clear? Every word stripped away what little dignity I had left. But I thought of my mother's pale face on the dialysis machine, of Eli's tears, of the loan shark's threats. Crystal clear, I whispered. Your room is prepared. Dinner at 8. Don't be late. He dismissed me like I was already forgotten. Dinner was served at a table that could seat 20, with only 2 places set, 1 at each end. The distance between us felt intentional, a reminder of what I was. The chef prepared braised short ribs, Damien said without looking up from his phone. High in protein. You'll need your strength. The implication hung heavy in the air. Tell me about yourself, he said suddenly. What would you like to know? Why you needed money badly enough to sell yourself to a stranger? The blunt cruelty stole my breath. I didn't sell myself. Didn't you? He set down his wine glass with precise care. You signed a contract agreeing to bear my child for money. That's the definition. Anger flared hot in my chest. My father died and left me with crushing debt. My mother needs a kidney transplant or she'll die. My brother deserves an education. I'm doing what I have to do to keep my family alive. If that makes me a whore in your eyes, then fine. But at least I'm a whore who loves someone. I expected rage. Instead, Damien smiled, a devastating curve of his lips that transformed his face. There it is, he murmured. Fire. I was beginning to think you were just another broken thing. He leaned forward. I don't want someone who'll just lie there and take it, Kieran. I want someone who fights. Heat flooded my body, part anger, part something more confusing. I'm not a challenge for you to conquer. Aren't you? His eyes glittered. Then what are you? A person trying to survive. Good answer. He returned to his meal. Finish eating. You'll need your energy. For what? He looked up through dark lashes, predatory hunger in his gaze. For our wedding night. An hour later, I stood outside his chambers, my hand trembling on the door. This was it. What I'd sold myself for. Enter, his voice commanded from within. I stepped into the darkness, and the door closed behind me like the ceiling of a tomb. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a body that ached in ways I'd never imagined possible. Memories of the night crashed over me, Damien's hands claiming every inch of my skin, his mouth branding me with bruises and bite marks, the relentless way he'd taken me apart 3 times, pushing past my pleas for mercy. This is what you agreed to, he'd whispered against my throat. Now give me what I paid for. The bed beside me was empty, sheets already cold. Of course he was gone. Why would he stay? I dragged myself to the shower, wincing with every step. The mirror reflected a stranger, hollow-eyed, covered in evidence of his possession. Bruises on my hips where his fingers had gripped too hard. Bite marks on my shoulders and throat. 1 year, I told myself. You can survive 1 year. But I wasn't sure anymore. Breakfast arrived on a tray with a note in sharp, precise handwriting. Rest today. Doctor will examine you this afternoon. Expect me tonight at 10 p.m. No signature. No pleasantries. Just commands. The doctor arrived at 2, examining me with clinical detachment. Everything looks good, she said, packing her equipment. Ovulation should occur within the next 48 hours. The timing is optimal. Optimal. As if I were a breeding mare being prepared for stud. After she left, I wandered the mansion like a ghost. Staff gave me wide berth, their eyes sliding away. They knew what I was. What I'd become. I found myself in the library, a massive room lined with books that actually showed signs of being read. Worn spines, dog-eared pages, marginalia in that same sharp handwriting. I pulled out a volume of Korean poetry from the Joseon dynasty. Inside the front cover was an inscription. To Damien, may you find beauty in words when the world offers only ugliness. Grandmother, 1998. It was so personal, so at odds with the cold, ruthless man who'd used my body like a tool. You shouldn't be in here. I spun around to find Damien standing in the doorway, still in his suit. His face was unreadable. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was off limits. It's not. He moved closer with that predatory grace. I'm simply surprised you can read. The casual insult stung. I had 2 years of university before I had to drop out. Literature major. Something flickered in his eyes. What were you reading? I showed him the book and his expression shifted, pain quickly masked. My grandmother's favorite. She used to read it to me when I was young. He took the volume from my hands, his fingers brushing mine. Before everything went to hell. What happened? She died. Like everyone I've ever cared about. He replaced the book with careful precision. That's why I don't care anymore. It's easier that way. I don't believe that. His head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing. You don't know anything about me. I know you kept her book. I know you've read it so many times the spine is cracked. I know, I gestured around the library, that you surround yourself with words and stories even though you pretend nothing matters. For a moment I thought he might strike me. His jaw clenched, hands fisted at his sides. Then unexpectedly he laughed, harsh and bitter. Clever Omega. Dangerous trait. He stepped closer, backing me against the bookshelf. But cleverness won't save you from what I need from you. His mouth descended on mine, and despite everything my body responded. I hated myself for it, for the way I opened to him, for the sound that escaped my throat when his hand slid into my hair. Over the following weeks, our nights developed a strange rhythm. Damien remained demanding, relentless in his pursuit of an heir. But I began noticing contradictions. The way he ensured I ate properly, watching until I finished every meal. How he listened when I talked about the books I'd loved in university, sometimes even discussing them with surprising insight. The volumes that mysteriously appeared on my nightstand. Jane Austen, Haruki Murakami, Ocean Vuong. One morning I received a call. My mother's surgery was scheduled at Seoul's best hospital. Eli had been accepted to the most prestigious academy in the city, all expenses paid. Damien was keeping his promises. But I also overheard the staff whispering when they thought I couldn't hear. Just like the others. Poor thing doesn't know what happened to them. Mr. Cross's curse strikes again. I cornered the housekeeper one afternoon. The women before me, what really happened to them? Her face paled. I can't say, sir. Please don't ask me. Were they murdered? Her silence was answer enough. That night, when Damien came to my room, I was waiting. I want the truth about your previous wives. You went very still. They weren't my wives. The women who came before me. What happened to them? Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. That's not your concern. I'm carrying your child. The words burst out before I could stop them. Or I will be soon. Don't I have a right to know if I'm going to end up dead too? The color drained from Damien's face. For the first time since I'd met him, he looked almost afraid. Is that what you think? His voice was barely a whisper. That I killed them? I don't know what to think. You won't tell me anything. He turned away, shoulders tense. When he spoke again, his voice was raw. They were murdered. By my enemies. People who wanted to destroy me by taking away my chance at an heir. The room seemed to tilt. And you brought me here anyway? Knowing I could be next. I've increased security. Taken precautions. He faced me again, and the anguish in his eyes was real. I won't let anything happen to you, Kieran. I swear it. Why should I believe you? Because, he stopped, jaw working. Because you're different. And that terrifies me more than any enemy ever could. 6 weeks after signing my life away, I stared at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test, my hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped it. I should have felt relieved. This meant the contract could end sooner, meant I'd fulfilled my purpose. Instead, terror clawed at my throat, and something else I didn't want to name. Reluctance. Whatever strange connection had developed between Damien and me would shatter the moment I told him. I'd become nothing but a vessel again, carefully guarded until delivery. I hid the test in my drawer and said nothing. 2 days later I found the file. I'd been looking for a book in Damien's study. He told me I could borrow anything I wanted, when a folder slipped from between 2 volumes. Inside were newspaper clippings, police reports, photographs. 3 women. 3 accidental deaths spread over 5 years. Kim Soo-in, 24, killed in apparent home invasion. Park Min-ji, 26, died in car accident, brake failure suspected. Choi Yuna, 23, found dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. But tucked behind the official reports were others, private investigator files detailing the truth. They weren't accidents. They were executions. Each woman had been a surrogate in an arrangement identical to mine. Each had been murdered within months of conception. And each death was linked to the same criminal organization, the Kong Syndicate, Damien's oldest rivals. Looking for something? I spun around, clutching the folder. Damien stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. You lied to me. My voice shook. You said they died of illness. Director Hayes said that. I never confirmed it. He stepped into the room, closing the door. Put the file down, Kieran. They were murdered because of you. Because they were carrying your child. I backed away. And you brought me here knowing the same thing could happen to me? I've taken precautions. 3 women are dead. I threw the folder at him, papers scattering. What precautions did you take for them? Something cracked in his carefully controlled facade. I didn't know. Not until after Soo-in. By the time I realized what was happening, Min-ji was already... He dragged a hand through his hair. I thought I could protect Yuna. I failed. So you tried again? With me? Yes. The word was harsh. Because I need an heir to secure my empire before my enemies destroy everything I've built. Because the Kong Syndicate has been targeting me for years, and the only way to end this war is to ensure my legacy continues. He moved closer. I chose surrogacy to keep the mothers anonymous, safe. But someone keeps leaking information. There's a mole in my organization. And you thought bringing another lamb to slaughter was the solution? I thought keeping my distance would protect you. His voice rose. I thought if I remained cold, clinical, my enemies wouldn't realize you'd become more than a transaction. His eyes burned into mine. But you're different, Kieran. You push back. You see through me. And I can't maintain my detachment anymore. The confession hung between us, raw and terrible. I'm pregnant, I heard myself say. Damien went absolutely still. A dozen emotions flickered across his face. Triumph, fear, and something that looked almost like joy. How long have you known? 2 days. He crossed the room in 3 strides, his hands framing my face with unexpected gentleness. Why didn't you tell me immediately? Because I knew this would change everything. You'd lock me away like a prize to be guarded. I met his eyes. And I wasn't ready to lose whatever this, I gestured between us, has become. His thumb traced my cheekbone. You're carrying my child. My heir. Nothing is more important than keeping you safe. Even if I suffocate in the process? Better suffocated than dead. He moved me to a safe house that night, a fortified compound an hour outside Seoul with minimal staff and security that made the mansion look unguarded by comparison. No one knows about this location except my most trusted people, Damien said, checking window locks for the third time. You don't leave. Not for any reason. For how long? Until I eliminate the threat. And if you can't? His jaw tightened. I will. 3 days into our isolation my phone rang. Eli's number. Kieran? My brother's voice was high with panic. There are men here. They say they know you. They say. The phone was ripped away. A man's voice came on, cold and amused. Mr. Kieran. We've been looking for you. Your little brother is very chatty. He's told us so much about his generous benefactor. My blood turned to ice. Don't hurt him. Please. He's just a kid. Then perhaps you should come collect him. We'll send you an address. Don't. The line went dead. I turned to find Damien standing in the doorway, his face carved from stone. Put the phone down. They have Eli. I know. I heard. He pulled out his own phone, already dialing. It's a trap. I don't care. He's 15 years old and they took him because of me. Because of me, Damien corrected. The Kong Syndicate is drawing me out. They know I won't let them harm you or anyone you love. Then what do? Something dark and terrifying settled over his features. The ruthless Mafia boss I'd only glimpsed before. We end this. Tonight. He made 3 calls, his voice clipped and commanding. Then he turned to me. Stay here. Marcus will guard you. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. He's my brother. And you're carrying my child. Damien's hands gripped my shoulders. I can save Eli. But I can't do it if I'm worried about protecting you too. Tears burned my eyes. Promise me you'll bring him back. He kissed me then, not with possession or demand but with something that felt dangerously like devotion. I promise. On my life, Kieran. I promise. Then he was gone, leaving me in that safe house with nothing but fear and the terrible realization that I loved him. God help me, I loved Damien Cross. Damien returned at dawn with Eli wrapped in a blanket, shaken but unharmed. My brother collapsed into my arms, sobbing, while Damien stood in the doorway covered in blood that wasn't his own. It's done, was all he said before disappearing into the bathroom. I got Eli settled in a guest room, then found Damien in the shower, watching pink water swirl down the drain. Without thinking, I stepped in fully clothed and wrapped my arms around him from behind. He went rigid. Kieran. Thank you, I whispered against his back. Thank you for saving him. His hands covered mine and I felt him tremble. When was the last time anyone had held him like this? When was the last time he'd let them? The forced isolation that followed changed everything between us. With minimal staff and nowhere to run, we couldn't hide behind formality or distance. Damien barely left my side, his protectiveness bordering on obsessive. He cooked for me, simple dishes his grandmother had taught him. He read aloud while I rested, his deep voice turning poetry into something sacred. Late one night as we lay tangled together, he told me about his childhood. How his parents died in a gang war when he was 8. How his grandmother raised him until cancer took her too when he was 16. I built my empire from nothing, he said, tracing patterns on my growing belly. Clawed my way up through blood and violence. I told myself power was enough. That needing people was weakness. What changed? You. His eyes met mine. You walked into my world with fire in your veins and refused to be broken. You made me remember what it felt like to be human. I wanted to pull away to protect myself. Instead, I pressed his hand against my stomach. Do you feel that? The baby moved. Wonder transformed his face. He leaned down, pressing his forehead to my belly. I promise I'll be better for you, he whispered to our child. Better than I was for your father. Something cracked open in my chest. Our physical relationship transformed too. Damien's touch became reverent, almost worshipful. He learned what made me gasp, what made me arch into him. He whispered my name like a prayer. One night, after making love with devastating tenderness, he pulled me close and said 3 words that shattered everything. I love you. I went rigid in his arms. Don't. Kieran. No. I pulled away, anger flooding through me. You don't get to love me now. Not after months of treating me like property. Not when I've spent every day preparing to walk away. Then don't walk away. He sat up, eyes blazing. Stay. Be with me. Not because of a contract, but because you want to. I can't want that. The words tore out of me. Do you know what you've done to me? I came here to survive. To save my family. I wasn't supposed to fall for my captor. His face paled. Is that what you think you are? My captive. What else would you call it? You bought me, Damien. You paid 200 million won for the use of my body. I paid for a surrogate. What I got was... He reached for me, but I flinched away. Pain flashed across his features. What I got was someone who made me believe I could be more than a monster. I can't save you from yourself. I can barely save myself. We didn't speak for 2 days after that. The attack came on the third night. I woke to gunfire and Damien dragging me out of bed. Stay behind me, he commanded, pressing a gun into my trembling hands. If anyone gets past me, you shoot. Damien. Promise me, Kieran. Whatever happens, you protect our child. Then he was gone, rushing toward the sound of breaking glass. I huddled in the closet, heart hammering, listening to the chaos below. More gunshots. Shouts in Korean. A scream that might have been Damien's name. Then silence. Footsteps on the stairs. I raised the gun with shaking hands. The door opened. Marcus, Damien's head of security, his face grim. Mr. Kieran. Come with me. Now. Where's Damien? He's alive. Barely. We need to move. I found Damien on the floor of the foyer, blood pooling beneath him. A bullet had torn through his shoulder, another through his side. His eyes found mine, dazed with pain. Kieran, the baby, is fine. I dropped to my knees beside him, pressing my hands to his wounds. You're going to be fine. Do you hear me? You don't get to die and leave me alone with this. Bossy, Omega. He coughed, blood flecking his lips. I love when you yell at me. Damien, please. Tears streamed down my face. Please don't leave me. I can't do this without you. You're the strongest. His hand found mine. My brave, beautiful. I love you. The words burst out of me. I love you, you stubborn, impossible man. So you have to live. Do you understand? You have to survive this because I'm not raising our child alone. Something like joy flickered in his eyes before they closed. 2 weeks later, I sat in a hospital room watching Damien sleep. He'd survived, barely, and had spent the time since eliminating the Kong syndicate with ruthless efficiency. The war was over. His empire was secure. And our contract had 1 month left. When his eyes finally opened, he found me staring at him. You look terrible, I said. Charming as always. He tried to sit up and winced. How long? 14 days. The doctors say you'll make a full recovery. Eventually. And you? The baby? I placed his hand on my rounded belly. Both fine. No thanks to you scaring us half to death. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into the drawer beside his bed and pulled out a small box. I bought this before the attack, he said, opening it to reveal a simple platinum band. I was going to wait. Make some grand gesture. But I've learned that tomorrow isn't promised. My heart stopped. I'm not asking you to be my surrogate or my employee, Kieran. He met my eyes, raw and vulnerable. I'm asking you to be my partner. My equal. The person who saved me from becoming a monster completely. I was never just surviving you, Damien, I whispered, taking the ring. I was learning to love you. And that terrified me more than anything. Is that a yes? I kissed him softly. That's a yes. 3 months later, I held our son while Damien knelt beside the hospital bed, pressing kisses to both our foreheads. We'd started with a contract. We built a family from love.